Now, welcome to our module number 1, Introduction to Generative AI of the AB-730 series, the AI Business Professional Certification. And it is genuinely the foundation everything else rests on. Now, this certification is deliberately not for the people who build AI system or write code underneath them. It is for the people who want to use generative AI to get a better business results. And by the time we finish this module, three things will be true. One, you will be able to explain in plain, jargon free language what generative AI is and roughly how it works. The kind of explanation you could give to your colleague over a coffee. Two, will know the six responsible AI principles Microsoft holds its own products to and why they matter. And three, you will see exactly how Microsoft 365 Copilot turns all of this theory into real time, which is saved onto your Monday mornings. Now, what is generative AI? So, the technology at the core of this certification, how it creates new content, how language model works, and what are the limitations. Okay, so we are going to answer all those questions in order that each one builds on the rest. Question number one is what actually generative AI means. A clean, a plain kind of an language definition we can all agree on and repeat. Question number two, how does it work under the hood? The machine learning models which are trained on enormous kind of an amounts of data that we have got. Question number three, and this is the single most concept that you will take away today, like tokens and how the models reads and writes language one small piece at a time. And question number four, which matters enormously for using this safety at work. So, how it genuinely cannot be reliably and why a human stays in the loop. Right. So, we are going to discuss all those points. But let us start firstly with generative AI. So, generative AI is a artificial intelligence that creates new original content, and that content could be a text, images, code, audio, video in response to the natural language prompt. That means the natural simple questions that we ask to this AI. So if you remember just two words from the sentence, it makes new and then the prompt. Okay, so now for example, if in case I do go back into the history not very long ago, but maybe in the year of 2019 and so on, when probably artificial intelligence and generative AI specifically came into the picture with for example chat gpt. So at that point of time we were quite limited to using chat gpt so that we can just answer the or ask the question in a natural language way by typing it, and then we will get these simple answers. So that means ask the question and you will get the answer. Now to this question we call it as a prompt. So that means this is a prompt that we give to that chat gpt or something called as an AI box as of now, and it can answer us. Okay, so that is what is meant by the generative AI. So that means there is something, the large language model which are running behind those systems, maybe ChatGPT or any of the other AI programming that you are using. So there is a brain which is running behind the scene. You ask the question and it gives you the answer based on the whatever training that those large language models or LLM has got. And right now, in the year 2026, when we are talking right now, uh, we do have various forms in which we do collaborate with each other with systems as well. So we can type, we can talk, we can share code, we can share images, audio, video. So these are multiple modes in which we do communicate. And yes, even we can communicate with the AI using all these forms. We can use text, images, code, audio, video to have a conversation. And that is what is meant by the generative AI. So that means based out of all of the content which is available, onto which the large language model which are running behind the scene as an brain of this, they can generate the new content. It is could be a text, image, code, audio, video, and so on. So that is what is meant by the generative AI. A very very simple, non-technical kind of a definition, that generative AI, that means creating a new content out of the existing content which is fresh, which is new, right? So new is the word that separates this from the search engines and databases that we all grew up with. So it is not retrieving the stored answer or looking a record up into the table. It is producing something that did not exist a moment ago, assembled on the fly from the patterns it learned during training. And prompt, that means you talk to it into the ordinary human language. So you simply describe what you want, no query syntax, no code, no special training. If you can write an email, you can drive this technology as well. So where does the ability comes from? So it is trained from staggering amounts of existing data. So all of these ChatGPT, the Microsoft 365 Copilot that we are going to talk about right now, so they do run on top of LLM, large language model, which has been trained on lots of amount of existing data. And during the training, it learns from the patterns and the relationship inside of that data, and which words tend to follow which what a cat looks like versus a dog, how a professional email is structured versus a casual text, and it reuses those learned patterns to generate something new that fits. Okay, and here is the contrast the more technical folks in the room will appreciate, that traditional AI most classified or predicted. So, is the email spam? Yes or no? Is the customer like the churn? Useful but narrow. But the generative AI produces, and that shift is profound. And the moment it landed in easy to use kind of an consumer tools in the year of 2022, is exactly when AI jumped off the research paper and then onto every front page and into every boardroom conversation. And many of you probably remember the first time that you tried one. The weight is just wrote that moment. Okay. Now look at the range of right side of these slides. So the text, images, code, audio, video, all created content. And here is the punchline at the bottom, that the things to underline. All of it comes from a single plain language prompt. And that accessibility, the fact that anyone can use it without having a technical skill, is precisely what is transforming for business, and precisely why certification like AB-730 exists in the first place. Now, with that, let me quickly go to our first demo, or let me just quickly go on to the Microsoft 365 to show you how Copilot looks like. All right, so right now I'm into the Microsoft 365. So this is the home page or welcome page of Microsoft 365. And for example, if you see here, this is how the Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat looks like. Okay, so if in case you might have used ChatGPT or Claude or any of the other system or other AI systems in the past, you will see that it is quite a similar kind of a thing. Here, this is a place where we can ask the question and we will get the answer. Okay, so to the question, we call it as a prompt, and we get the response by asking those kind of an prompts. Now let us do one thing. Okay, so here is my prompt, and right now you can see that we do have various options, so don't get quite confused here, but definitely I'm going to walk you through all of those things. So you will see few chat, search, library, tasks, notebooks, agents, few chats here, few options here, work IQ, and few model options and all. But we will hold that discussion. Let us get started with very simple kind of things. Okay, all right. So what I will do is I will ask our first question. So tell me about elephants. Okay, tell me about an elephant. So this is the first prompt that we are going to do. Okay, very basic thing. It doesn't need any kind of an training or any kind of an most information and so on. So as soon as I type this question, maybe even in your brain, you must have started your own LLM thinking about, okay, for example, someone asked me what is or tell me about elephant, what are the things that I'm going to reply. But let us look at what this AI system or Microsoft 365 Copilot has given us the information. All right, so now the first thing is elephant is the largest living land animal, and it belongs to this family and so on. So these are all of the facts and everything that we have got about the elephant. Okay, in brief but very detailed. about the key facts of size of the elephant, lifespan, diet, trunk, and everything. Okay, so that means yes, it has got all the information. Now I will just ask, like, can it pull the Fortuner? Okay, so let me just ask this question, like, can it pull the Fortuner? Again, I'm very generic. It, because right now I'm in the context that I started my conversation with elephant. Now this Microsoft 365 Copilot knows that, okay, I'm referring to it. That means an elephant. So can elephant pull the Fortuner? And the answer is definite answer that you get, like, yes, adult elephant can generally pull a Toyota Fortuner. Because again, for example, if you see in my question, I just asked Fortuner, but here it has given the exact reference of Toyota Fortuner, the car, the big heavy muscular car that we are referring to. And the answer is yes, the adult elephant can do it. But again, there is a justification which has given by this AI technology in this second para, that these are few of the interesting facts, like the elephant, again, yes, there's an incident as well, like wherein elephant has done this in the past somewhere in Kerala, which is one of the region in India. And then again, this is the justification, like how much weight roughly elephant can drag. And then definitely Fortuner is way lesser than this, maybe 1 ton or so. And that's the reason, yes, a healthy kind of an adult elephant can pull the Fortuner. But again, not necessary it can lift it off the ground with the truck, but yes, it can drag it. Okay, it can tow it and it can use it to the full body strength. Okay, so this is the thing that it has come up with. Now, one thing here, um this is kind of an AI system. We don't know how it came to know about elephant, about Fortuner, the relationship between these two and all, because none of the provider here have trained specifically on Fortuner, specifically on the elephant and so on. But still, with the knowledge that it has got, it was able to give us the answer. And now the brain which is working behind the scene for this is LLM. Okay, so that means the large language model, which is LLM. Okay, so that means all of the questions which are being answered by this Microsoft 365 Copilot is with the help of LLM. Okay, so there is some LLM which is running in the background, which is helping us to get this answer. Now, where that LLM is inside of this Microsoft 365, so that is the first thing that we are going to see here. So, for example, if you see here at the top, here is the auto, and if in case I pull down this arrow, you can see that I can go for the quick response, think deeper. Yes, we do have the Opus 5 model, which is available from Claude as well. And then, most specifically, Microsoft 365 Copilot works onto the OpenAI GPT model. And Microsoft does make a commitment that whenever there is a new version or new model available from OpenAI, it will be available within 24 hours in Microsoft 365 Copilot. And that's the reason, as of now, if in case you do remember, we do have GPT 5.6, which has been rolled out just last month. And yes, it is available here. And believe me, within just 24 hours, this model was available into this Microsoft 365 Copilot. So that means there is a very less time that you have to wait to get yourself exploring the new models as well as their capabilities. All right, now while I'm doing that, I'm following the new design. So if in case you might see something different, probably you are not onto this new design, so just use this toggle to go to the new design versus old design. Concept wise it is the same, just that we have got this new design which is available for Microsoft 365 Copilot, which will help you give the modern kind of an experience while you are working with it. All right. So now this is kind of a very generic kind of a question that we are asked, like about the elephant, about the Fortuner. But now, when we are working inside of the organization, we do need the AI system which can help us understand the context, which should understand what kind of a personality I am. For example, what role I do carry in the organization, what are the files, what are the team members, what are the emails and conversations that I do work with, and based on that, it should be able to ground my responses. For example, if in case I ask summarize the meeting happened yesterday onto the contours of proposal and help me draft an email reply to them. So now based on that, the AI system here, which is Microsoft 365 Copilot, should be able to understand that yes, there was some meeting which has happened yesterday, and I'm referring to that meeting notes, and it should get into that and give me the answer. Now, that's the reason we do have this kind of an chat kind of an interface or the AI kind of an interface available in Microsoft 365. Now, mainly the question here will be like a few of you might ask yeah, definitely I can ask this question in ChatGPT, maybe onto the cloud or maybe into the other AI system. Definitely, yes, we can do that. But the only thing here is like all of the other system, they will not have your enterprise knowledge. So that means they will not know, let's say, for example, a chat GPT. So chat GPT will not know what kind of a personality that you are in or what kind of a role that you are playing into your organization, your way of writing, your way of replying and everything. That probably chat GPT will not know. And then again, you do not have to specifically get the content from your organization into the chat GPT, okay? Because ChatGPT is a kind of an open source. If in case you do copy paste something into ChatGPT, there are chances that it might get leaked over the internet. And that's the reason when we are working inside of the organization, we want to make sure that along with while we are using these AI systems, we do follow certain security aspects. And that's the reason we do not use ChatGPT, but we use Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat. Now, the question that you will ask, okay, in that case, if in case, do I need any license to use this? The answer is yes or no, definitely. So it is like if in case you do not have Microsoft 365 Copilot license, in that case, you still will have access to the Microsoft 365 Copilot chat. But only thing, you will not have your work IQ. So that means it will not have context to all of the things that you work in your organization. So what is meant by all of the things is first thing, maybe your SharePoint content, maybe all of your emails, maybe all of your Teams conversation, maybe the things that you are working with your Viva Engage and so on. So all that information will not be available for you while that Microsoft 365 Copilot chat giving you the answer. But yes, if in case you happen to have Microsoft 365 Copilot license assigned to you, you will have this work IQ and all of your questions will be grounded with the information that you use day in, day out in your organization. Okay. And you can turn it off as well. So if in case you turn it off, it is kind of a normal chat GPT kind of an interface, but definitely is not a chat GPT. But with this, you will be able to get the generic answers. As soon as you have this work IQ, if in case you do have the license, you will be able to ask the questions which are related to your work. Now, why we should use Microsoft 365 Copilot rather than using any open chat GPT or any of the other applications? The answer for that is here. This green tick that you see here, which is nothing but EDP, Enterprise Data Protection, which has been applied to your chat. So in the organization, when we do the chatting with our data, our colleagues, or maybe all of the information that we have got, we want to make sure that that information is being protected, that is not leaked. And that's the reason when we use Microsoft 365 Copilot, it does follow the enterprise data protection and the security governance kind of things which are offered by Microsoft. And that's the reason all of the conversation that you will do with your Microsoft 365 Copilot, it is going to be a secure one. Okay. So that's the reason, we know now that we do have Microsoft 365 Copilot, which is available onto your homepage of Microsoft 365, a welcome page where you can ask your question, get the answers, and those questions could be from your work IQ. That means the information that you do use onto your day-to-day life in your organization into your tenant, or maybe it could be directly from the internet as well. And at the same time, it does follow this enterprise data protection. So that's the reason all of your conversations will be secured. Okay, so that means there will not be any leakage of the information uh, explicitly or intentionally, unintentionally, by any chance. Okay, so this is going to be your secure communication channel. All right, so now let us understand how it works under the hood. Okay, so how does the magic actually happens? So let me demystify this with three ideas and one simple flow. So idea number one here is the machine learning models. So generative AI runs on what we call deep learning models and networks loosely inspired by the way neurons connect to the human brains. So during training, they process vast amount of data and encode the patterns and relationships they find. And I want to be honest here, there is nothing mystical going on. It is statistics, but statistics operating at an almost unimaginable kind of a scale. The idea number two here is the LLMs, large language model that we just talk about. So these large language models or LLMs, you have all heard about by now, and these are the text specialists. So they have effectively learned how language fits together, the grammar, the tone, the structure, and a great deal of factual knowledge well enough to draft, summarize, answer the questions, and hold a genuine back and forth kind of a conversation. Now, the idea three here is about the prompt and prediction, and this is one of the tattoo on your memory. So, prompt to the prediction. So, when you send a prompt, a model is not looking up an answer in some giant kind of an filling cabinet. It is predicting the most likely next piece of the text, and then the next, then the next. So assembling your responses step by step based on everything which is absorbed in training. And this is exactly what the blue flow along the bottom of the slide is showing you. Your prompt goes in. The model breaks it into tokens. Hold that word because this is the entire subject of very next slide that we are going to be talking about. So in general, it predicts the next token one at a time, and those predicted tokens get assembled back into the response you read onto the screen. The step number four here is about it is kind of a four-step kind of a process like prompt, tokenize, predict, assemble. So if you remember nothing else technical from today, remember this little pipeline because it explains both the incredible power of these systems and the quirky kind of a mistakes they sometimes make. So everything else we will discuss with trace back to these four steps. All right, so let us talk about the tokens. Okay, how the models read the language. Okay, so again, tokens are these are kind of an things that we are going to talk about. But one thing here is model they do not see the words the way we do. So the text is basically broken into tokens. It could be words, it could be subwords, it could be character or a punctuation, and we call it as a tokenizer. Right. So let me quickly show it to you what is meant by a tokenizer. So let me go to this website, which is available from OpenAI, platform.openai.com/tokenizer. So this is kind of a tokenizer which will help you to understand when we ask some question or some give some prompt to our LLM, how the tokenizer work. Okay. So let's say, for example, when I will ask "Hello, how are you?" and a question mark. So you can see that this particular thing, the sentence that I have given here, it is going to consume six tokens. It has got 19 characters, but it is going to consume six tokens. How? This is how those are. So hello, which is into this purple word or purple line color. This is the one. Then we have got two, three, four, five, and six. Okay, so these are the six tokens that it is going to be consuming. Now, what happens generally is when we are dealing with this AI system, we do usually get charged onto the tokens that we are consuming. So that means when I will ask "Hello, how are you?" So this is my prompt. So that means obviously I am using six tokens here out of whatever tokens which are assigned to me or whichever tokens that I have byte. Now, in response to that, let's say for example we get the response "I'm good." Okay, so in that case, these are the three tokens that we have consumed. So in most cases or most scenarios, we do get charged on the input tokens as well as the output tokens that we have received. And that's the reason understanding the tokens is very, very important. Okay, because we are going to get charged on these tokens. Now let us look at the example onto right side of this screen. Like I heard a dog bark loudly at a cat. So most of these words become one token each, clean and simple. But watch what happens to loudly. It splits into loud plus ly loudly here. Okay. Now this is the subword kind of a tokenization. But it is exactly the method the GPT models use. Now, why on the earth would you split a word like that? Because it lets a manageable vocabulary, fixed set of pieces cover almost any word in the language, including brand new words the model have never seen simply by snipping familiar kind of fragments together. And it is bit like Lego for your language. Now there are three quick ways to lock in. First thing, vocabulary, the complete set of unique tokens a model knows, usually many thousands of them. Secondly, learn relationship. So that means during training, models learns which tokens tend to show up together or in a similar context. And that statistical web of association is into the real sense, which is the model's understanding. And the third thing is generation. So when you prompt it, the model predicts the sequence of output tokens from your input sequence, one token at a time, and those get stitched back into the repeatable kind of an words. All right. Don't worry if in case it is too complicated, but just one thing that you need to know about that whenever we interact with the models, all of these LLM, large language models, they do work in the background, what is called as tokens. So all of your questions, that means your prompts and the output that you get generated, there are certain tokens, and this LLM, they do predict the next word based on this token. And again, yes, you do get charged on these tokens. Okay, so that is the only thing that you should take out from this slide. All right, so now then let's talk about this LLM, what are their capabilities and their limits. LLMs, they are powerful, yes, but are they magic? No. And this is a slide might be able to have the most important one for using generative AI well in the real world, because the professional skill is holding both of these columns in your head at the same time. So now let us start from the left. So what it genuinely well. So generative AI can draft, it can rewrite, it can summarize the text, it answers the question and brainstorm the ideas with you. It translates and shift the tone, turns this blunt kind of an email into diplomatic one. It will do that. It will generate the code, it can generate the images, it can also generate the other media as well, including video, audio, and so on. And even my personal favorite framing for the business audience, it takes the scattered, messy, half formed kind of an information and turns into a clear first draft in seconds. So that means with generative AI, you will never ever start from a clean slate. You will always get the starting platform when you will use the generative AI. We will also see that how it works in Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and so on in practical in our next sessions. All right, so now on to the right hand side, the limits. And these are the matters because as like certain capabilities, it do have certain limitations as well. So first thing, knowledge cutoff. A model only knows what it is being trained on and up to a certain date, and straight out of the box it has no idea what happened in the news this morning and no access whatsoever to your private company data. Second thing, this is a big one, the hallucination. A model can hand you an answer that is fluent, confident, beautifully worded, and completely utterly wrong. Because remember, it is predicting plausible sounding text, not checking the facts against the reality. And third thing is transparency. So that means you often cannot trace where an answer actually came from or verify how it was assembled. Now then, what is the fix? So in the bottom right corner, you can see that there are two words. First thing is grounding. So that means connecting the model to the trusted current data so it answers rest on the real sources instead of any kind of an fuzzy memory. Now, the second thing here is the review part. Okay, so that means we are using AI. So AI can draft, but as a human, you should decide. Okay, so that means always there should be human that should be kept in the loop to check the output before anyone can act on it. And there is a phrase I want you to carry out in this room, like AI can draft but humans should decide. So say it with me if you like. The single principle is also the perfect bridge into our next session, where we will talk about the responsible AI.